on chakras. Just want to kind of give you a little reasoning behind why I even started doing this class on chakras, because this is kind of the gateway. Everybody asks about, get into spirituality. Where should I start? Where should I begin? What should I do? And there are so many just different modalities of sciences that are out there that it gets confusing. It really gets confusing. But as I learned very early in my journey that the energy systems have to be in order. They have to be in balance in order for us to move or do anything. So anytime we're doing some type of healing work, we need to be in balance. Everything has to be in balance. And you hear me speak about that as we go through one of these slides. Everything in our lives have to be balanced, starting with the chakras. When the chakras are balanced, the energy system is going to allow energy to flow. It's going to allow light to flow through us with ease. So we want to make sure that we are aligned and balanced before we do anything, any kind of work. And also, as I start going through this, you start to learn about the different aspects of the chakras, and you start to understand how the chakras are going to affect your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body, and your spiritual body. And if one of those are out of alignment, nothing works right. And I talk about function and dysfunction. When we're outside of our natural state, we're always going to express dysfunction some kind of way. Mm-hmm. There's a whole masterclass that I did called the structure of your spirit, which breaks down how these bodies work together. We live in 7 bodies. Once you start working through one body, the other body is going to be in contradiction of the other one. For example, the lower self is always going to be in contradiction of the higher self until the lower self understands what it's supposed to be doing, or it's given direction to find its higher self so it can become more powerful, because that lower self loves power. The lower self is the egoic self, and that is one of the bodies. Now, when we are working through the different bodies, we have the heavenly body, the oversoul, then we have the higher self. From there we go into the mental self, and then we go into the lower self, which is going to be the lower chakras. Then from the lower chakras, we begin to look at the emotional body. And the emotional body actually sits between the upper higher self and the lower self. So you have the higher self, the mental body, the emotional body, the lower self, then you have the etheric body, then you have your physical body. So it gets pretty interesting when the energy starts coming down from those different bodies and we're living in the physical body. The physical body is the brunt or the receiver of everything that comes through those other bodies. So if our chakras are not aligned, we're not able to bring the energy through so that we can see what we need to do to fix the other bodies. So if you think about this, the emotional body sits right at the cusp of the mental body. So that means your emotions are working with your lower self. And your mental body is working with your mind. But the mind is like, I feel some kind of way because I'm getting this feeling from the lower body, and my emotions begin to start taking over. The emotions start to charge the mental, and the mental starts to decide it's going to react. And that's when we're living in our lower self. And then we can't ever get to our higher self, and the higher self sitting back there looking like, you all need to get it together. All this can be understood when we really start looking at the chakras. The structure of your spirit is not a beginner's class, because it's going to break down things that you never understood, or probably never even heard of, certain things. The structure of your spirit is the name of the class. It's on my website as a master class. If you want to purchase it, it is on my website. Just go to the More tab and go into the master classes, and it's the structure of your spirit. But it's pretty interesting because the chakras work within the structure of your spirit. The chakras are going to be part of the spiritual body. It's part of the higher self. The chakras are part of the lower self, the higher self, the emotional body, the mental body, the etheric body. The chakras are aligned with everything. So these are the energy systems that will allow us to clear it. Now, something I do want to just make mention of, that etheric body is the body that's like a white glow that's right over your physical body. That etheric body takes the dump from everything coming from the higher self, the mental body, the emotional body, the lower self, and the etheric body. And all these things are coming down into it. We have 4 layers that are in that, and I won't go deep into this, but the last layer is the chemical layer. The chemical layer is a layer that basically holds the health or the disease. If we're doing things that are in contradiction of our higher self, it creates disease. So that disease is going to be then sent into the etheric body, and you got 4 levels before you get to that chemical level to make it right. But a lot of us don't know this stuff, so we don't make it right. So what happens is the disease goes into the etheric body, and the etheric body dumps it into the physical body, and the physical body then begins to express dysfunction. Okay. All this again goes into the chakras in alignment. When we align our chakras, we move into our higher selves because we're getting more light. When we get that number of that level of light from God, then we begin to mimic the image of God, or we start to act in the creation or the image of God. That is the whole purpose of even being here, is learning to do that. However, as human beings, we get so disconnected from that we don't realize what we're doing. We get so caught up in the everyday life of living that we begin to forget our true purpose. Our true purpose is to learn how to live in the image of God and to exist in that image. Newsflash, we're never going to get it right because we're human beings. You know, human beings have to have an experience of getting it wrong to get it right. And that's the whole purpose of what we're doing. The more that you get it right, the less wrong you start doing. And you start to become in that image. So this is something I want to kind of give you as a throw out. I didn't really talk about that last time. So what you'll see is each class that I do, even though we're separating the chakras, you'll get a tidbit more of information about the system and how it works with other systems, because it's all about a balance. If you read in certain manuals and certain books, we talk about health. And what is health? Health is the operation of the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body in harmony. Okay? And some people have this conception that we will never experience harmony. Harmony is always going to be to the beholder's level of consciousness. It's always going to be according to the spiritual maturity. And that's with everything. Some people are just not going to be mature enough to understand certain things, and you have to let them be where they are. When we come into a higher level of being, our being, then we're able to accept whatever. And that's also showing that we have confidence in ourselves and what we're doing, because we're not now trying to change other people. We're trying to enlighten them so that they can change themselves. Because it's all about self-awareness and self-growth. It's not about somebody teaching or telling someone to do something.
Like
so that
Christians do.
Well, you know, it's all right. I mean, but you got to remember, that's where their maturity level is. And we have to go through that experience to move to the next experience. Because you got to be the one that's a judgment in order to understand how it feels to be judged. And you got to be the one that's judged to then become the one that's the judger. So it all works together, you know, and we just have to understand that that's the beautiful aspect of life. But that's a lower vibration. It's our choice if we choose to deal with it. All we gotta do is vibrate at a higher level, because what's on the inside is on the outside. I always say that. You know, so if you're expressing function and you're expressing in your most natural space, then you're going to express function and you're going to move above those vibrational frequencies. And that's the whole purpose. One of the purposes of us doing this. And that's why I want people to understand about the chakras, because if you understand the chakras, then you would literally naturally take yourself out of lower vibrational frequencies just by keeping the chakras aligned. Because the chakras do so much, and we don't have to worry about, okay, what do I do next? Okay, I learned this now. What am I supposed to do next? What's the next level of consciousness I need to raise myself to? Well, if you align those chakras, you're going to get the light of the Almighty to come through you, and you're going to raise yourself up. That was the first thing I learned, was meditation and chakra alignment. And meditation allowed me to go into a space that aligned me to the point where I started to realize what I was supposed to be doing. And then it was like the golden keys were given to me. All the stuff just came to me at that point. So that's what I want everybody to experience. So that's why I go through the chakras. Long story, but I just wanted to give you that little bit of history about me and where I came from and how I understood it, and the way that I teach, so that you can take the knowledge of the chakras and literally begin to align yourself to your most harmonious space. And you can literally start to draw in the divine information at that point. And that's the whole purpose. That way you don't have to go to someone else. And you begin to build a relationship with your higher self and with the Most High. And when you build that relationship, then you're able to actually cultivate and build a stronger relationship with yourself. And you start to become aware of yourself, and you start to become aware when you're not acting in the image of God. You know, and I say acting in the image of God, that's a big thing, but it's a tall order, but it's all right. All we have to do is keep striving for it. You know, we make a mistake, when we fix it and keep going.